What's up, guys? It's your pal, the Mothman 491 here. I'm with my co-host, Clief 101. What's up?
G'day, how you going?
And we're here to talk to you today about the Final Fantasy series, mostly Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake. We're going to go about talking about the origins a little bit of Final Fantasy, how it's become such a successful company, and basically kind of our thoughts on the 15 delay and how many years it took them to do Final Fantasy 7 Remake and the reaction to it. So let's get right into it, guys. Clief, the success of Final Fantasy has come from the 1987 release way back on the regular NES. Now, as you know, this was the last-ditch effort to make this company successful. Hence the name Final Fantasy. This was huge for the company. This was their very last effort at making a game that was going to make them successful, and they nailed it.
Yeah, hands down.
I mean, it's crazy to think that Square Enix wouldn't be around today if way back in 1987 that game would have bombed.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, you think about the legendary games that have come out sort of, you know, towards the end of the PlayStation era, start of PlayStation 2, and what they have done for gaming have all come from a last-ditch effort from this mega company.
Well, yeah, and I mean, how many RPGs today have elements that Final Fantasy implanted? I mean, Chrono Trigger, you know, that's a classic, which inspired the sequel Chrono Cross. We've got, I mean, I think every major RPG out there that came out within the next few years or so was inspired by the Final Fantasy series and what Square did. I mean, they kind of revolutionized the style, the Japanese RPG. They made it relevant again.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely losing, as you say, relevance within the market, particularly the Japanese market, and then all of a sudden out comes this game that incorporated so many other elements that other JRPGs sort of had, took out sort of the best parts of each one, incorporated it into this one mammoth sort of game, and Final Fantasy was born from it.
Well, and I think games like, you know, and a lot of people don't like tactics games, and I'm one of them. I've never particularly cared for them. But when I played Final Fantasy Tactics for the first time, I was instantly hooked. And I don't know if it's just the brand, the Final Fantasy name, or if it's just the fact that it just is such a good game. It's a PlayStation 1 classic. It's such a good game. I mean, do you think that Square has branched off into other markets and been successful, like with this game, or do you think that maybe Square has tried and failed with other markets and just needs to stick with the JRPG style?
No, it's a really good question. I don't think that they need to specifically stick with the JRPG style. I mean, you even take a look at, say, Final Fantasy 14, which is not JRPG, it's an MMO, and it's probably one of the more successful MMOs to have come out. In fact, it's still going.
Well, but to be fair, though, the first one was terrible.
No, it was, and they fixed it up, and they've patched it, and they've done a lot of work to it, and you know they've made a successful market for that type of game now.
Yeah, I think 14 was pretty, like when it hit PS4 and PC the second time around, like the Realm Reborn, Heavensward, I think it really picked up steam. I think that it did really, really well. I mean, I bought Heavensward not too long ago and was playing it a lot.
But you've also got, you know, if you look outside of, say, the Final Fantasy sort of series that Square Enix is working on, you've got another AAA title in Kingdom Hearts, which is not a JRPG, it's an action RPG with JRPG sort of elements incorporated into it. I mean, who would have thought when Kingdom Hearts was announced that this crossover between Disney and Final Fantasy was going to be this mammoth universe that it is now. It's spun off like 10, 12, 14 titles within the span of about 15 years. It's incredible.
Between handheld and different random mobile games and the console releases and the re-releases, the HD remasters. Kingdom Hearts is just a massive success. I think that's kind of why they've incorporated elements of Kingdom Hearts and the Final Fantasy style into 15 and the remake, because take your two biggest franchises and you mash them together, you're gonna have. I feel like you're gonna have success, just based on name alone, and then you take the style that everybody likes and put it into a game together, and it really makes that soar into success.
And let's be honest as well, I think Final Fantasy has been trying to branch away from the turn-based sort of combat style since Final Fantasy XII. This is the first true game to properly just completely break away from turn-based combat style and sort of come out of the nostalgic 1980s and bring it into this sort of next-gen phase of where the series is going. And it's not even all about the gameplay, and that's what people need to sort of remember what a JRPG is kind of all about, specifically Final Fantasy, in regards to Final Fantasy 15 being released. The main aspect of playing these games is to play this predetermined story, predetermined characters, and sort of encompass this journey together, whilst you're sort of accompanying them as sort of like an extra party member that's going along with them. And I think Final Fantasy 15 in particular, although it has, from what I've seen and played, particularly good gameplay, the story-driven aspect of it, which has been missing since Final Fantasy X, is really, really there to really draw you in. And that's what I'm hoping and have seen so far Final Fantasy 15 will be bringing back to the franchise.
Well, and it seems like 15 has done a really good job of making for the demo that I played, which was the original Type O demo that came out when you bought Type O.
Duscae, yep.
I think that they did a really good job of making the environments vibrant, and Final Fantasy games have always been beautiful for their time. They've always been, at the time of their release, they've always been really good graphically. I mean, if you look at 10 was on the PS2. At that time, graphics weren't high powered, but they were branching into that.
Yeah, no game touch. I mean, you even look at 12. 12 is I mean, you put 12 up to a current day game, and you can near on compare the two from the PS2 game and not the remastered version of it too. It's Final Fantasy, Square Enix has always been very, very highly regarded in regards to the graphical department.
Yeah, I mean, when you see the behemoth in the demo, it looks like you should be afraid of this thing. They've always done a good job with the behemoths. I do believe that. With 10, it looked nasty. But in this 15, it looks like a hulking monster. It looks like something that you're going to get your ass kicked when you walk into this fight.
Do you know what I'm actually really, really excited for as well? The fact that magic affects the environment.
Yeah.
That is just... That's going to blow your mind away with how magic is utilised. It's going back to sort of Final Fantasy VIII style, where it's sort of... You've got a limited amount of uses in regards to having a certain amount of magics per sort of magic that you have. Whereas where you throw them, I think it's like a potion sort of thing where you throw the bottle, the magic at wherever you're going to be throwing it, and then it sort of uses the magic, and it affects the environment. This is going to be epic.
Now
I can already see the troll videos.
I haven't played the Platinum demo, but I don't know per se if it's going to happen this way or if they're going to change it or whatever. My only personal complaint really with the game so far, with the demo, is that the summon system. It feels too much like a last-ditch effort. Like, summons don't make you feel powerful. To me, they made me feel weak. Like, I needed them to survive.
Yeah.
And I don't really care for that. I feel like with 10, they did a really good job of making you feel like they were your combat partners. Like, you needed them because you needed each other.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in 15, it feels like... And even 7 did a really good job with the summon system, the materia system. my thing is like... I don't want to feel like I'm about to die, so I need to just take a cheap route out and use a summon. I feel like a summon is something that, you know, for boss fights, or for leveling, or, you know, basically the way they've been used in the past. I like that. I don't like the last-ditch effort. I mean, what are your feelings on it?
I'm not really too sure, to be perfectly honest. I mean, the only one that we've actually seen in motion is Ramuh. From what I understand, every summon can be used in different ways. So I'm thinking Ramuh is if you're critically injured. I think Leviathan can be used when you're near a body of water, regardless of what's going on. You're going to have sort of other summons there as well. I don't think there's one predetermined marker to be able to use the summons. I think each summon has its own unique predetermined sort of thing that you've got to accomplish. Yeah. They've got a prerequisite to be used. Whereas the only one that we've actually seen in action on our side is Ramuh. So there's not enough information in regards to it at the moment, I don't think.
Now, we've seen in some of the trailers that Leviathan is definitely a big factor in the game. Do you think
it's even in the Platinum video?
Do you think that Leviathan will be a summon, or do you think that Leviathan will be like a boss fight that turns into a summon, kind of like Bahamut back in the day? I think Final Fantasy 5 or 4.
I think
or do you think that he's just going to be like a main, like a big villain? I mean, do you think it's just going to be...
I'm not even sure if it's going to be a villain. I think it's going to be just I mean, the amount of footage that we've seen, even in the Platinum demo, you see that, you know, there's this one scene in the Platinum demo that you see it sort of come out over the ocean, come over the sort of rocky cliff, and then down into the lake and sort of disperse and disappear. I think it's a summon that's kind of just, I don't know, maybe around and just following you everywhere.
That's possible. But, I don't know. I like how they introduced the summon system, like with him sticking his hand on the tree or the rock or whatever it was, and it giving him the summon. I like that. Like I said, I just hope that not every summon is a last-ditch effort. I hope that it's like maybe there's a meter or something you can build for a certain one, and then you can summon it, or maybe like you said with the body of water. I like that. I think that would be really cool. Like I said, I just hope that Square doesn't decide to keep that as every single summon. Because if you noticed, when you use them, you get no experience.
There is one other summon, and whether it's actually used as a summon in the game or not, it's neither here or there, that we do use within the Platinum demo, and that's Carbuncle. Yeah, and Carbuncle isn't activated through any means of desperation or anything, so I don't know whether you want to take that upon as enough proof to say that each summon does not have the same prerequisite of use. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Now, another the tech demo at E3 and also the demos they've showed that aren't playable has shown a giant hulking monster that is rumored to be Titan. Now, will Titan be a summon, you think, like it has been in the classic games, or do you think it's another one of those boss fight characters?
I'm pretty sure it was confirmed to be Titan, but I'm not 100% on that. But I would imagine, because at the end of that fight, doesn't he say that he will lend his strength to you or something?
I'm not entirely, I haven't
Can't
recently
remember off the top
watched.
of my head.
I haven't recently watched the demo. I'll have to rewatch it, but you might be right about that. I think.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly from the top of my head, but it sounds familiar to me. That's going to be the case for Titan specifically. I think other summons will choose to help you, like Ramu. Ramu's always sort of been depicted as sort of like an elderly guide. In Final Fantasy IX, he was sort of introduced as you regained your summons as sort of the tutorial summon that sort of welcomed the summons back to you, I suppose.
He's always been one of the first few that you get. I know that.
Yeah, I can see him playing that sort of role within 15. I can see some summons being sort of must gets to progress the story, like Titan or Ramu, and I can see and I hope there are some optional summons that you can collect. But I do know that the amount of summons that you will be able to get in this game is limited. It's not going to be a vast array of summons that you can get like previous Final Fantasies. There's a limited number of them.
Now, do you think some will be skippable, or do you think that they'll all be storyline driven?
No, I think there will be some predetermined storyline driven ones. I would like to hope that there are some optional ones as well. There's any Final Fantasy that's actually had summons in it have had an optional summon. At least one that you can obtain through some optional side quests to be able to get it. I mean, 7, you've got Knights of the Round, you've got Typhoon, you've got all of the Bahamut's are missable actually.
Knights of the Round being the most ridiculous summon in history.
That's going to be fun to actually get, and then
oh man, in the new remaster or the new remake, that's going to be epic.
Oh yeah,
it's going to look
epic.
Cut
down the time of it though. Or they at least give you a skip button.
If it's on PC at any point in time, can you imagine how gorgeous that summon is going to look?
Well, it's going to go. Well, I'm imagining because so here's some bombshell news. Okay, so we all know about, and we'll touch on this a bit later, I suppose, in more depth. We all know about Final Fantasy 15 being delayed. Instead of being released on September 30th, it's now November 25th. There are rumours about a second delay coming for the game in regards to PlayStation asking and prepared to pay for the wait of the release of PlayStation Neo to bring the game into 4K graphics for the PlayStation Neo. They're prepared to wait and pay some of the cost for the dev team to be able to get this game up to 4K standard so that they can use Final Fantasy 15 as a launching title for the PlayStation Neo.
That would be awesome.
That's a rumour going around. Now, if that rumour does actually come to be about and is actually true, we could be waiting for Final Fantasy 15 until next year in January, February, as opposed to November. So hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, hopefully that's not the case. And my problem with that is that 4K gaming is going to become huge. It's slowly creeping up towards being huge, but right now, I mean, your average gamer isn't going to be able to afford a 4K TV. They're not going to be able to afford the PlayStation Neo. That's a new system. A brand new 4K TV is anywhere from $1,000 to higher at least, and that's just the low end 4K TVs. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. I think that the graphic wise look would be amazing, but is it worth pushing your fan base even farther back by delaying it? I don't really think so.
Well, see, this is the thing that Final Fantasy 15 is doing right now. Okay, so for the last sort of what is it, 4 years since it was announced that Versus 13 was renamed to 15, and that 15 was like really moving ahead.
It was going to be a main series title anyway.
Since then, Square Enix's PR work has been absolutely phenomenal with regards to Final Fantasy 15. You had a game that was in such shambles when it was announced to be Final Fantasy 15. The fan base wanted nothing to do with this game because they'd already waited way too long to hear any news with regards to what was actually happening with it. You go from then to now, and you've had the game being, you know, near on fully developed and ready to go. You've got this entire universe already sort of coming about with the Brotherhood anime, the King's Glaive movie just releasing. You've also got a mobile game, I think, that's coming out as well. You've already got all of this world already available to the gamers before the game's even released to hook you on, and it's something that has been absolutely brilliant by the PR team.
Well, and it honestly really was never done before for a Final Fantasy game. I mean, Advent Children came out after Final Fantasy VII. I don't remember 10 ever having any kind of visual media outside of the game. 12 really didn't. Other than game trailers and stuff like that promoting the game, I don't think we've ever had Square Enix do such a good job of being like, let's immerse people in this world, let's get people in, and then the delays won't seem so bad because we're giving you content regardless of the fact that we're pushing back our game.
That's exactly right. And that's what I think Final Fantasy 15 has done remarkably well over the last sort of 4 years. However, over the last month, they've taken really big steps backwards from all of that ground that they made, in my opinion.
Okay, this isn't actually...
I think the delay was a bit of a negative publicity stunt, but Tabata handled it exceptionally well with his YouTube video being released, and it brought a lot of people back on board. But over the last couple of days, in fact, I think it was Thursday or Friday last week, there was some more news released in regards to Final Fantasy 15, and that being the first sort of half of the game was going to be open world, and then it would become more linear. And the use of the word linear, now I don't actually think what linear means to say you or the viewers might mean the same thing to me, but when people hear the word linear, they think Final Fantasy 13 Corridors disgraceful debacle of a game and presentation of a game. I think what's going to be happening is start of the game, you're able to access, you know, the full world map as you're sort of traveling through and going through it and doing what you're doing with with the boys. You're going to be able to do side quests and everything along the way, be able to explore the universe that is Final Fantasy 15. But as the game ramps up and reaches that sort of halfway point where most Final Fantasies will actually sort of ramp the story up, change its sort of direction and focus in on the story, I think what they mean in terms of linearity is that the side quests will start to not be so prevalent and the story will start to take precedence over everything else. I think you'll still have access to the world map and being able to go places and everything, but in regards to what content is available to you, I think it's going to be purely story driven.
From that point.
My thing is,
that's
my time with the demo, anyway. My time with the demo, while very brief, did impress me in one thing. There are so many, like, and I don't want to call them side quests necessarily because most of them are just like, if you're in this area, kill 5 of these, or something like that. But there are a bunch of these mini quests is what I'll call them. These mini side quests, I really like those. It really adds something to the game. I'm hoping that the rest of the game will continue to have these regularly, but I hope that they don't flood you with them and make it like, because some games have the bad habit of being like, okay, I need you to complete 5 sub-quests before you can complete the main quest. And that's fine, but when that is your whole game, and then as the story goes along, now you're doing 30 side quests to complete one, I'm really hoping that 15 keeps up with what it's doing right now, and just saying, listen, you can do this quest, this is the main quest, we have these 4 sub-quests we need you to do, and then here are 15 mini-quests that you can choose to do, but you don't have to.
Yep.
But we're going to give you that option, we're going to bring it to you. It's like bringing the horse to water and not making it drink. You're not going to get somebody to do 50 quests before they complete the main quest. And I
think
really
that's the
like
idea
that in the
to
demo.
go down.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do at the start. They'll have, like your 4 sort of side quests to be able to progress the story then further, whilst having the option to do sort of 15, as you say, mini quests. But I think as you reach sort of the halfway point of the game, the side quests will still be there, like 4 side quests to go on further with the game. But I think the mini quests, the optional mini quests, will start to dry up and not be so prevalent. Until, I suppose, you get to the end game content where everything is shoved at you and you can do everything. I think in regards to the midway point, or somewhere around the midway point, up until you get to sort of like before the final boss point, will be more story-driven quests as opposed to optional nothing quests sort of thing. Now, I think that's what they mean in terms of the game becomes more linear.
We kind of talked about it earlier, and that was about the summon system. Do you think any of these mini quests might do like what Final Fantasy X did with Anima and getting the Magus Sisters and Yojimbo? Do you think any of those elements will come into 15 and be like, listen, if you do these specific side quests, you can get an optional summon? Do you think that might be one way of introducing optional and non-linear gameplay to the sequence, or do you think the quest will just give you something random for your time and that's it?
I'm not sure whether they'll reward you with an optional summon, maybe an optional item or an optional weapon or a trophy or something like that. I think within the world of Final Fantasy 15, summons are so powerful that rewarding you with an optional summon just for getting some items or completing some side quests or anything, I think that's too great of a reward. I think that would be left until end game side quests, where they're more challenging.
I noticed that obviously when you're playing the 15 demo, Duske, that Ramu is one that you obviously get through doing the side quests. My interpretation more of what I was trying to say was like, okay, with Anima, you have to go and get 6 items from all the temples. Okay, well, is there going to be a point where like, okay, you're in this area, this sub-quest will be the first step, and then towards the end of the game, maybe the 20th sub-quest or 50th sub-quest is like, okay, now go here and defeat this, like, almost like an Omega weapon, and then you get a summon. You know what I mean? Like, it would build up to something. It would start small and build up into something like a massive quest line that's underlying the story.
I mean, possibly. Like I said, I'm not sure whether they will reward it with a summon per se. Purely because, I go back to the use of Anima purely because you used it as an example. You could go back to any of those items and get them. I'm not sure whether that's going to be the case within doing side quests, because the Anima side quest wasn't so much a quest in itself. It was sort of a mini game in and of itself that you could do either at the time or end of game. Whereas if you're going to do things about sort of in the way of side quests, I would like to think that the world of Final Fantasy 15 is evolved enough that as you progress through key moments in the story, side quests will unlock or close, because the characters, the NPCs will change and evolve depending on what events are happening within the world of Final Fantasy 15. Because we've got to remember, there are some, shit's going down at the start of the game.
Now, do you think that you'll be able to change the fate of certain NPCs, like whether they live or die, based on your side quest actions? Or do you think that the main story will just choose whether or not someone's going to live or die based on the story?
Based on typical JRPGs, I wouldn't say so. There's predetermined stuff. I'm pretty sure there are some choices that you can make within the game, but they don't actually have any bearing on the story that is being told.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it would have a bearing on, like, the story itself. Like, okay, I'm going back to the demo again. In the demo, there was a lot of interacting with different NPCs or whatever. Do you think that maybe, like, a side quest will be like, I don't know, the fate of that person might hang on what you do or what you don't do? I mean, they may not be like an important story character, but they might be like a big NPC or a big, something that has to do with a side quest.
Based on the rating of the game being T, I would imagine not. I would have thought that giving you the choice of whether someone lives or dies would not come under the rating of T.
Now, what would that rating be in America? What kind of standard is set by that? Like, what's the content standard?
T's for teen. Honestly, I'm not particularly well versed in the your rating.
Because I know T is for teen here.
Yeah.
And then M is for mature, and that's usually 17 and older.
Not here. No, you've got T here, which is for teen. You've got M, which is for mature audiences. You've got M 15+, which is a step above M, but it's 15+, which is teen. I think it's purely disclosed as, I think teen is the rating above G. Then it goes M. Oh no, sorry. It goes G, PG, T, M, M+, and then you start getting into your sort of R-rated sort of stuff.
Okay.
Here anyway, but Australia's rating system is so strict and stupid.
Yeah, I've heard that actually. All right. Well, now that we've talked at great length about 15. I know a game that you're super excited about, and I am as well, being an old school PlayStation 1 guy. You are actually doing your series Road to Remake. Now, what that entails is you playing the entire Final Fantasy VII game with side quests or without side quests?
Undecided at the moment. I'm doing as much as I can without losing screen time of just traveling around. So it's a delicate balance because of the videos themselves. Okay, so for those that don't know, currently in dedication to the announcements of Final Fantasy VII Remake for PlayStation 4, I decided that I was going to play through the original Final Fantasy on the PS4 port and bring the game to my personal YouTube channel. I'm doing that in basically 15-minute installments, episode by episode. So getting quality footage within 15 minutes is challenging. So there's definitely a challenging aspect to go and do some side stuff, but keeping it entertaining enough that it's actually watchable.
Exactly. And like I said, I've watched your series. I think it's really good. I am also excited for the remake. I'm literally like I think me and you two might be the biggest Final Fantasy nerds out there right now, because that's actually how we met, was the Final Fantasy group, and 10 has always been my favorite, but 7 and 8 are right up there. And 7, when I heard that 10 was getting a remaster the first time, I was super excited. And then the second time I bought every remaster version for Final Fantasy X there is, except for the PS Vita. So obviously I'm a pretty big fan. But 7 really excited me because I watched the tech demo back in the day on the PS3 when it released at E3.
2005.
And I wonder if Square Enix always knew they wanted to tackle the project, and that was kind of their way of getting something out into the industry to say, hey, we're considering it, here's what we're looking at, would you guys enjoy this? And the reaction that it got was amazing. And then we see the release of the very beautiful video at E3 of Final Fantasy VII Remake. The reaction, the crowd just went nuts. It turned into like a nerd convention that turned into a rock show. Like, it was insane. People were jumping out of their seats. People commentating were like 12-year-old fanboys.
Yeah.
You know, when 7 came out originally. I mean, the reaction has been super positive, super amazing, and Square Enix has handled this just perfectly. Just perfect. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm really, really excited for this remake, and I think you are too.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't even care that it's episodic. I don't care how long it takes to come out. I mean, the entire Final Fantasy fan base, regardless of whether 7 is your favourite or not, has been begging for a remake since probably about 2003, I think. It's 20 years on that the game is more than likely going to release. I think it's going to be mid to back end of next year. There's going to be, the first episode is going to be releasing. They're currently developing another trailer that will be released at the end of this year, which is going to be fantastic because it's been ages since I've seen any new footage of this game, and it looks absolutely smick, and it's still only in early development. I'm actually hoping, this is actually something I spoke to someone about today. The theory is that the first episode is going to be of Midgar, of just Midgar. Now, that doesn't sound like there's going to be a lot, but they're really expanding upon Midgar, as well as putting in the rest of the lore that the compilation of Final Fantasy VII has come out. So that includes Crisis Core. So Midgar is going to be massive. I mean, just normally, if you go through Midgar on the normal game, it can take anywhere between 2 to 3 hours to actually get out of Midgar.
It's true.
Itself. So if they're going to be throwing in a lot more content into that game, 10 hours, 20 hours easily in Midgar for the episode 1 itself. Every episode is apparently going to play like a fully fledged game.
Now, are we thinking like price point wise for this style of release? Do you think it's going to be the normal 60, or I mean, I'm not sure what it breaks down to in your country, but for us, $60 is the standard.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's going to be the standard price, or do you think that because it's an episodic release that it will release maybe $20 off, $30 off of the normal price point?
I would like
to think so, but given the amount of work, the visual brilliance of it, and just the title of the game itself, I wouldn't be surprised if they went full bore with it. But in saying that, I mean, they say that this game is going to be, each episode is going to be the length of a full game. What is the length of a full game? Are they talking length of full Final Fantasy game? Are they talking full length of just your typical sort of game that comes out these days, which can be anywhere between 6 and 8 hours long? It's what do they actually mean by that? I don't know.
That's exactly right. And here's my thing: is it episodic like 13, or it's episodic like your Telltale games that come out where it's like, oh, here's the first chapter, here's the second chapter, all the way up to the fifth chapter. Or is like I said, is it going to be like 13, where it's 13, 13-2, and then Lightning Returns?
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be, because people already know the game, it's one game, I think it's going to just be releasing episodes of the game as they develop it, sort of thing. So that by the end, once they've made the final episode, you will be able to actually combine them all up into one sort of game, I would imagine. But what I wanted to talk about actually specifically was the theory is that the first episode is Midgar. I would like it if the first episode ended after you got Sid. And this is why, okay? So the first part of the game is basically obtaining new characters and developing those characters. And I spoke about it a lot throughout my Road to Remake series in regards to once we came to the point where we finally had obtained Sid, that was basically the first part of the game done. In regards to the story, plot-driven story, there wasn't a great deal of going on. There was a bit of mystery that was encompassing the players, but for the most part, the drive that was driving the game were the characters, obtaining new characters, and developing those characters in their specific locations. Once you move away from Sid and Rocket Town, you can then revisit other towns, and the actual plot of the story really starts to take control of the game. I think the end of episode 1 would be better suited ending after you get Sid. That's not going to happen though.
Probably not. And here's my thing too.
I think realistically, end of June on the ship, going over to Costa del Sol would probably be the perfect place to end episode 1.
But here's my thing too. With the addition of Blu-ray discs in recent years, obviously the size of the game is allowed to be a little bigger anyway, because of the fact that, I mean, if you look at games like Skyrim and Fallout, how massive are those games on Blu-ray discs? They're amazing. Final Fantasy VII could do something that no other game has really done with a remake. You could take, legitimately, Crisis Core, Before Crisis, you could take all this and kind of like, I'm not saying put Crisis Core on the first disc, not saying that at all. What I'm saying is take story elements from Crisis Core, do a flashback scene of Zack and Cloud, maybe do a flashback scene of just basically, because when you play 7, you have no idea who Sephiroth is other than what you're told. When you play Crisis Core, you see these background characters come alive. Zack. You didn't know who Zack was until, what, halfway through the game?
Yeah, you had a mention of a character named Zack.
Yeah, I mean,
But beyond that, you had absolutely no relevance as to how that linked up. In fact, in regards to Zack itself, he's barely mentioned within the game itself, and he plays a massive role.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess it kind of it lends to the mystery of a character, but I feel like if you're Square Enix, and so many people, like, let's say I had never played the game before, and you were trying to convince me to play it, and I go in and I play it, and I'm typically not an RPG guy. Do I understand what's going on? Probably not. 7 doesn't really do... The one thing 7 doesn't do, maybe one of its best characteristics, it doesn't throw a shit ton of story at you right off the bat. But I think introducing, in this day and age, the short attention spans, the increase in shorter games to include that short attention span, I feel like they need to add that story element right off the bat with maybe Zack and Angel and Sephiroth. I think that Sephiroth and Zack need to be at the forefront of the game at first, because they're two of the most important characters in the game, and in the actual game itself, the real Sephiroth doesn't even get seen until fucking, almost the end. And then Zack is just hardly, like you said, hardly ever mentioned. Do you think that adding story to the beginning would be a good idea, or do you think that keeping up with the tradition of not doing that would be a good idea?
No, I think there's a rumour circling that the start of Final Fantasy VII is not going to be the same starting point as what the original game was. I think as an opening cutscene, instead of having, the Starry Night panning down to Aerith walking along, I think the opening cutscene would work really well in terms of capturing the audience, in terms of going, what the hell was that? I don't understand, I want to find out more. I think having flashes of sort of parts of Crisis Core in regards to, you see Sephiroth, a little cutscene with Sephiroth, you see Zack, you see, the getaway with Zack and Cloud in the back of the truck, Zack sort of dying, you see Cloud sort of, crawling to Midgar.
And then
spoiler alert, by the way, guys.
Oh, that's a good point. you get to Midgar, and then it just comes up as flashes of Tifa finds Cloud and goes, "Cloud, are you okay?" And then goes to black, and then brings it back up, and you see Cloud, you see Tifa and Barrett talking, saying, he needs some help. Can you take him in? Go away. Brent comes up, another scene sort of comes up, and then all of a sudden you sort of get this story moving forward that Cloud is a part of this team. It comes onto the sort of train sequence, and then the game puts you in control of where you were in the previous game, but you've got more going on that you want to find out. I don't know how well that would work. I've literally just thought of that from the top of my head just now, but
I feel like, okay, watching the video, I feel like, and this is just me, and it's kind of funny to me, but I feel like they made Wedge sound like an idiot.
Oh yeah, they're not official voice
actors. That voice track was awful. I mean, what the hell was that?
You're saving the planet!
Yeah, he was like... I do like, though, that they've... I like the blade look of Barrett, though. I think that's badass. I think Cloud looks amazing. I think the game's going to be really good. I hope they don't try to make it more of a movie, though, with less gameplay. I hope that the gameplay still survives.
Yeah. I hope some gameplay elements survive. In fact, what I hope the most, well not the most, but one of the high tier things on my hope list, on my wish list for this game, is that some of, not necessarily the glitches, but mistakes stay in the game. Things like, and I know that newer gamers to the game wouldn't understand, but leaving the classic line, "This guy sick," put it in there. Just put it in there for nostalgia's sake. On the train, on the way to Sector 5, Barrett aims his arm with his gun at the dude. What the fuck's he gonna do there?
Here's my thing, too. Do you think Barrett... We all know Barrett's foul-mouthed. We all know that. It's in the game, obviously, with the different symbols.
More of a concern.
Do you think that Barrett, the voice actor, is actually going to have that foul mouth in the game, or do you think they're going to not urbanize, but like play it safe and keep like, okay, for instance, Nier. Did you ever play Nier?
I played parts of Nier.
Okay, how much language was in the very first 10 seconds of that game? A lot.
It's a very different game, though.
Do you think that Barrett will still keep that foul-mouthed attitude, or do you think that they'll try to clean it up?
I think what would work is not necessarily cleaning up Barrett's language, perhaps tidy up the words he uses, but keep the aggressiveness there, and leave the cursiveness to Sid. Because I think Barrett can still be Barrett without swearing all the time. He can be quite aggressive and call people names and stuff without using the expletive words. But Sid, I think that needs to be reserved for Sid, because that's Sid. Especially when you first get Sid. Sid changes over the course of the game, especially after he goes into space. But at the start of the game, where he's a bitter son of a bitch, he's right off.
And my thing is, like, I think Barrett, because it would be like, obviously you can't with the symbols and everything in the speech, because it wasn't voice acted. You can kind of clean it up, and people won't know exactly what he's saying, but you can kind of get the gist of it. That's why I kind of asked about it, because I feel like Barrett, the voice actor, I don't know if they're gonna try too hard to keep Barrett. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Barrett needs to remain somewhat ghetto, but I think his core character element, specifically at the start of the game, until he meets Dine again, is aggressive. He's very aggressive.
Now, Sid is an interesting character. Your Dragoon, if you will, for the most part.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that brings up the thought, do you think that all these minigame elements, like the infamous cross-dressing scene, the date
That's said
scene,
to be staying. Yep.
the Don Corneo scenes, do you think that they'll be in there as playable minigames again, or do you think that they'll just be story-driven elements?
No, I think they'll be in there with the same element as what they were. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's already been confirmed that the cross-dressing is going to happen. That's been confirmed to be staying within the game. I would like to think that the different outcomes of the Don Corneo, whether who gets chosen depending on what items you actually manage to obtain, that remains. I would like to think that the date scene, depending on your compatibility points that you rack up throughout the game, can determine who actually goes on the date with you. I'd like to think that that remains the same as well. I think the glitches with regards to the compatibility points are taken out of the game.
Hopefully. That was kind of awful. Like, getting the trophy for Barrett is damn near impossible.
No, it's super easy. Super easy. There's a glitch in the game that you can do it.
Really?
I messed it up when I was doing the Road to Remake series. In fact, I probably need to go back and re-record that particular part. What I failed to do, okay, so with Barrett, no matter what happens throughout the game, okay, when you get to Cosmo Canyon, you've got to enter Cosmo Canyon with Barrett, and then when you go to pick your party members to go into the observatory, Barrett says a couple of lines, and then you can back out of it, and then say it again, and then back out of it. And every time you go through that sequence, his compatibility points go up.
But you can only do it a certain amount of times.
Yeah, you can only do it a certain amount of times before the game registers, oh, hang on, you've used this glitch, I'm not giving you the trophy. So yeah, the Barrett trophy is actually very, very easy to obtain if you know the glitch. Otherwise, legitimately doing all of the compatibility points and making sure Barrett is at the highest is quite difficult. In fact, people don't know that you can actually get any character on that day. You can have Yuffie, you can have Kate Sith. I've had Kate Sith, I've had Yuffie, and I've had Red 13 go on the date with me. I haven't had the other characters though. But you can get other characters on the date besides Tifa and Barrett.
Now, a character I'm super, super excited for, and you're probably thinking Cloud or Tifa.
Red 13.
My character I am most excited for is Vincent.
Yes, yep, definitely.
Dude, I am so excited to see how they do Vincent, because his transformations, his limit break, just his character, the Lucretia Cavern.
I think they'll nail Vincent. I mean, he was portrayed quite well within Advent Children, and he had a major role, obviously, the main character of Dirge of Cerberus. So, and they had the Chaos limit break within Dirge of Cerberus as well. I think they will be fine in portraying Vincent.
It's gonna be epic, man. Vincent is like my second favorite character in the whole game.
I'm super keen for Red 13, to be perfectly honest, because he only says 7 lines in Advent Children. He only says 7 words in Advent Children. I'm super keen to have him in the game, fully fleshed out, fully graphically enhanced, and talking.
Now, does he actually talk, or is it telepathy?
No, he talks.
Does it? Okay, I couldn't remember. I knew that he talked, but I didn't know if it was in their minds.
No, if you go back and watch Advent Children, at the end of the movie, when Cloud wakes back up in the water, Red 13 is the one that walks up and says, "There are still children with the stigma." And that's literally the only words that he says.
Really?
Throughout the entire movie, yeah. Go back and watch it. That's the line that he says.
I just have to do that.
He's actually talking. Yeah.
Yeah, Vincent is probably the character I'm most excited for. I think the interactions with Lucretia is going to be badass. I think the cavern is going to be awesome. I think what they need to do is, too, if they're going to flesh out the story here, they need to have dedicated scenes to these characters. So, like, if you're going through Vincent's backstory, you should see him as a Turk. You should see him interacting with Lucretia. You should see him interacting with these characters that made him Vincent.
Yeah.
That's the kind of story elements I want to come into the game.
This is the thing that
people are not understanding about the remake, okay? The remake, the title Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think is a poor description title of what this game is going to be. This is going to be a completely brand new game mechanics, new story elements. There are going to be events that happen throughout the game that are going to happen differently to what they happened through Final Fantasy VII, purely because we have more information about the compilation of 7 to convey within certain events. So what now gets included, what now actually changes with cutscenes and
exactly.
Just things like that. This is going to be a completely brand new experience.
Well, and I hope that they go into it thinking that everybody doesn't know the story either. Because sometimes when a game banks on its success like that, they tend to leave things out, knowing that a lot of the hardcore fans will look it up or they'll already know. I hope that it does a good job of getting new players into it better. And I think that, like we talked about earlier with bringing in Crisis Core information and stuff like that, I think flushing out the more dedicated characters, like, alright, everybody, there's fanboys of every character in the game. We'll admit that.
Except for Kate Sith.
But every character needs to have that defining moment flushed out in this new game, and I hope they do that. I hope that they take, like, Sid and his space exploration, his want for that. They need to convey that in a way that you feel bad for Sid for not completing that.
I think, I would agree with you, but I am confident that it's in safe hands.
Oh yeah. I think that they've handled the Final Fantasy VII universe perfectly. I mean, You come out with 7, it's a critical success. You come out with Crisis Core, success. You come out with Advent Children, everybody loved it. Everything that Final Fantasy VII touches turns to gold, basically, is what's going on. I mean, like I said, E3 E3 was just, it blew up. No
Yeah.
game that I've ever seen has had that effect on this many people.
Just wait. Okay, so the hype around the remake is about here at the moment. When it was announced at E3, it was way through the roof.
It was off
Right
the charts.
now,
There's a lull about it at the moment. There's not really much information about it. We don't really know what's going on. We don't know about the release date, anything like that. There's like I said, there's a new trailer being developed that'll be coming out at the end of the year. You watch this hype train come right back up here. But at the moment, all of the hype is going towards Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15 will release at the end of the year, hopefully. This is going to really shift. The closer that this game, Final Fantasy VII Remake, gets to releasing and more information about it actually gets released, this is going to go up and up and up and up and up. And I think the release of the first episode and how good that is inevitably going to be is just going to push sales up and up and up and up and up per episode that then releases. It's going to be absolutely massive.
Now, do you think that... Here's my thing, too. I feel like they need to get 15 out there. They need to finish up Kingdom Hearts 3. And then just full-on push Final Fantasy 7. They need to put everybody on it. Because it feels like if they're going to delay 15 as much as they have, and they've delayed Kingdom Hearts 3 as much as they have, what's to say they're not going to delay 7? You know what I mean? Like, they need to put all the resources into their golden goose.
Yeah, I think that's why they're releasing it in episodic format, is so that they can release the game as it's being made, as opposed to releasing a full game after having to do absolutely everything. This is no longer on the time schedule, I've got to push that back again. So on and so forth. I think doing it in episodic format just kind of relieves that sort of pressure, that cutthroat pressure. Especially when they don't have any sort of dates surrounding it. I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 doesn't even have any dates. I think it's going to be released next year, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's a maybe.
So, yeah.
Alright, well, guys, I think this might be all the time we got. I think I ran out of things to talk about, surprisingly enough. But thank you so much, Clief, for being here. I'd really like to see this channel grow, HardLuckGaming. Our personal channels as well. Check out Clief 101, guys, over on his channel. Links will be in the description. This video will actually be on both my channel and his channel, so please watch both of those. They'll be going on the HardLuckGaming channel too. Subscribe to that as well. Links, like I said, will also be in the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to stay awesome. And we'll see you in the next video. Recording. Alright. Just gonna do the intro, and then I say we do the origin of Final Fantasy or whatever, and then we do the we just get into it. Is that cool with you?
Yeah. Just let it flow. Just do whatever. Any pauses that we have in between topics can be edited, so...
Exactly. God damn it, is that the first release in fuck it, I don't care. Alright. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. God damn it. I know, right? What's up, guys? It's your mom.
You're so nervous.
I am. I am. I get like this before every video, so don't feel that.
It's all good, bro.
Alright.